Welcome to episode 3 of the Last Pack podcast. I am Matt, your host, with Joel, my co-host. What's going on, man?
Not much. Happy we're on week 3 and we're progressing. And hopefully we're gonna be able to have a drink together while we do it.
Yep, I have a nice pour here of Goose Island Bourbon County Stout from last year. So if any beer nerds are out there, they'll know it's pretty legit barrel-aged beer. What's going on, man? What'd you do in the hobby this week? Labor Day weekend. Things are generally pretty slow in the hobby, but what did you do this week?
It's kind of funny. This week was very soccer heavy, and typically I don't do much with soccer, but I got in a few products. I got some World Cup stickers, which is something kind of interesting. Seems like those are hitting shelves and selling out now at Walmarts and wherever else they're out there. And also a big one, I got in our Topps Chrome PSG case that we had reserved. So big one in, and we got to figure out what we're going to do with this bad boy.
Yeah. So for the audience that isn't super familiar with soccer, just this product in general, this is a sealed case of Topps Chrome PSG, so Paris Saint-Germain, their club team in Ligue 1 in France. They made a box set that there's only 270 sets produced. And this is the team that has Lionel Messi, Neymar, and then Mbappe. And the big chase here is Mbappe doesn't have any rookie cards that are, he doesn't have any autographed cards that are licensed. So he signed for this product. All the autos are on card in this Chrome PSG set. And they did release more of like a retail version hanger product that it does have Mbappe autos, but we don't really know how many there are. There's stickers. And so it's kind of created some hype in the industry just because if you get a guy with this big a name that hasn't signed yet and he has pretty limited autographs, it's a big deal. So they came out with this set, super limited autographs, and Joel and I are both, we're sharing a box. We've bought boxes, and we're starting to see some breaks happen in the U.S. and some big cards are getting pulled, including a gold auto numbered to 10, which we saw pulled on Friday through the Sports Card Nonsense guys. So a lot of hype in this product, and yeah, we'll just see how kind of the hobby reacts to it.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that shortly after this product got released, all of a sudden Panini got that signing with Mbappe as well. Right, and that's a new kind of wrinkle in it. But that being said, who knows how soon it's going to be until they produce a product. And we're going to see overall, what does it mean to be first with the first Mbappe auto? As we know, Chrome holds a big name in the hobby in general. So I think we'll see how that shakes out. But being on-card autograph and Chrome, I don't know if there can be much better that we can get. So I'm happy with that. I think I'm pretty happy with us being able to secure one.
Yeah, no, I'm excited too. And I think the interesting thing is kind of like how Panini handles his contract, as nobody really knows the terms. But the fact that they announced that they are releasing a National Treasures product, Road to Qatar, so the World Cup that's coming up in November, the fact that he could have some sort of, I don't want to call it an RPA because it wouldn't be a rookie, but a patch auto, if it was on card and game worn, I feel like that could be just massive. I'm a little less, I have less confidence in Panini as a brand, just being completely honest, but I have a feeling we could see a lot of stickers, and it could be like a stickers NT sort of deal, but we just don't know. And that's kind of like the wild card you play with putting your money into some of these early products. And I like the Topps product. I like Topps Chrome. There's definitely been some complaints about QC issues, but I think the fact that it's an on-card Chrome auto with a guaranteed auto of his is just going to carry some weight. So I'm not super concerned that Panini made this announcement after.
Yeah, it's really crazy to have an opportunity. I don't know if we want to talk through the thinking of when you and I were kind of just thinking about potentially buying a box, but just thinking about the fact of having Messi and Mbappe first ever auto in the same box was kind of the kicker, and knowing that you can have a Neymar in there to kind of help you out, along with the 20 card set. And based on the previews, those three autos are guaranteed: Neymar, Messi, and Mbappe.
Yep.
So, I mean, obviously, this product, probably the number one thing you're looking for is this chase for the superfractors. And we'll see how that shakes out. And I think, you and I are definitely hemming and hawing about what we want to do, if we want to rip or hold. But that's the thing. It's like, who knows? I've heard some channels, specifically on Sports Card Nonsense, that were talking about the potential. I forgot who do you know who the soccer collector was that they had on the show?
No.
But if that soccer collector in particular was speculating that he thinks this card could be up to $1 million, if talking about the Mbappe Superfractor autograph. Who knows what that actually can do? Maybe now with this Panini deal, that puts a wrinkle into that number. But I think overall, it's just fun. It's fun that we're like in the game. We have something in the game to chase for, or to look for as we continue to watch breaks.
Yeah,
but it's a fun thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm excited, and that chase for the super is really where it's at, because I agree. Like, I don't know if it's that high, but I don't think there's any doubt. Like, it's a 6-figure card, and if you really start to think about it from like a probabilistic standpoint, the ability to buy something that, there's only 270 boxes produced, one of the boxes has that card in there, you really don't get those odds for that big of a card in many products these days. Granted, the sticker price is huge. I mean, they're $15,000-$20,000. So I'm not trying to say that you couldn't take a big loss if you don't hit a big card, but I think there's very few products in the industry right now with where wax the way it is that you can open something and actually have, half a percentage point of a chance to potentially hit a 6-figure card. So yeah, it's cool.
I think it's funny. Like, as you and I were kind of thinking about the thought process of sharing a box, here's what I thought about. So I thought about, in the past, I would be like, no way, absolutely no way. National Treasures, $500 a box, maybe $700 a box. In today's market, you can't even open a case of National Treasures basketball for like 15 to 20,000.
Yeah,
it's right in that range. So to me, this guarantee already push it up. Like, okay, what's my floor? Like, say we lose half. I mean, like, that could be really bad. I think worst case scenario, maybe. Right.
And that's kind of like the way that I try to approach these things, is like thinking about it from like a risk reward potential. There's definitely risk. You could lose money opening it. However, I think you have a pretty good chance of even getting back to like 2/3 of your purchase price if you like really don't even do well with the cards that you hit, and the upside is so much greater. So yes, you have to have the capital to kind of give it a shot, and you have to have that risk appetite. But like I said, there's just like not a lot of products these days that you can buy and hope for that type of upside. So we'll keep everybody updated. I'm the more conservative one, if anybody can't tell so far, but I actually am like more into ripping, just because I do think the risk reward potential is big. But
yeah, it's funny because I would be the one that would typically say like, let's rip and see what happens. But to me, it's like there's a ton of upside just in it sealed. So
yeah, it's
hard to give that up. But the reason why there's upside in it sealed is because of the floor, and because there's such a high ceiling. So it's like, it's rare to have a product where you have such a high floor and such a high ceiling together.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Yeah, but we'll see if that actually shakes out, and see if by next week or the next month what it looks like with this product.
Yeah. I mean, we could wake up tomorrow and find out the super's been pulled and feel a little less excited about that rip, Yeah,
right. It's possible.
But
only 270 made, right?
Yep. So.
Oof. Okay. So big shows this weekend. Weren't there any? There was a Ship Shawana show. I think there was a trade night yesterday. I think I saw some footage on.
Yep, we had the Ship Shawana show, which is in Amish country, Indiana. Which really odd that you'd have a show there. I don't really even know the reason why, but I've been out there twice, kind of as the show's grown, and so even through the 2 times that I've been there, kind of saw it grow. They do one over Memorial Day. I know Labor Day. I went to one earlier in the year, maybe like February, March timeframe, and it's an excellent show. The promoter's great. You have big cards, value boxes. They've added a trade night. It's really become a destination. My issue with it the last time I went was it's almost getting too popular for its own good, that it's like not a hidden gem. And that is making it kind of just like tight to navigate the room. They haven't really expanded. So I'm interested to see if they kind of keep it where it is or if they want to expand it. That also, I think like the fact that where it is not the greatest. If you're there just strictly for a card show, but for me, I've done both. I've driven in day of the morning, driven home that night, but then I've also driven the night before, stayed overnight. If you stay overnight, there's just like not a lot of restaurants, not much to do. So it is really like you're there for the show, you're gone. There's nothing else going on.
No casinos in the area?
No casinos in the area. But I kind of like it because
casinos and cards seem to go hand in hand.
Oh, they do. I don't think the Amish do the casino thing, but I think it's kind of like, it's almost a little bit of a breath of fresh air in this time period where, yes, there are social media influencers there. You have like Card Collector 2 has showed up and he actually sets up there, which I know he doesn't do at a lot of shows, but it's not like part of this rotation of influencers going there. So it's like still this like great, awesome show, but it almost feels like a little bit more of a hidden gem and like off the beaten path because those guys aren't there, which I think is interesting.
Very cool.
Aside from that, though, I think there's a show out in Phoenix, and really not too much aside from that, just because Labor Day weekend, people are traveling and stuff. And I know me, like, I wasn't really on top of cards this weekend. I won a handful of cards on the PWCC weekly auction yesterday, but nothing big. And just kind of rolling into September and seeing kind of where the market's headed. And to me, it's excitement of basketball season coming up in really a month or so.
Well, and a full football season, right?
Yep.
Like literally this coming Thursday. But before we jump there, I do want to say one thing. So this coming weekend, we got locally, there's a show in the western suburbs here. There's one in the northern suburbs here. I think, is there a Lake Station show as well this coming weekend?
Not this weekend.
Okay, so we got at least two shows that we can get to locally, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. So hopefully next week's show we'll be able to talk about a couple shows that we went to.
Yep.
Maybe one or the other or both.
Yep. And with that, we will transition because we want to talk a little bit of week one football. It is Monday. We're recording on Monday with the holiday, and we're just a few days away from the opening night of NFL. A lot of stuff that we've talked about already on the couple episodes of this show, just about kind of the overall like hype and prospecting market. But we have Bills-Rams opening night on Thursday. What are you looking for just week one? Are there any like card specific storylines you're interested in, or just overall like NFL takes that you want to give as we get into the first week of football?
Yeah, to me, for as all the hype we saw in the offseason, to me, the number one story going into game one is Josh Allen. By far and above, which is funny to say because Matthew Stafford's the guy that won the Super Bowl last season. And here I am talking about the other guy that didn't make it to the Super Bowl. Mind you, in a crazy, crazy game. But still, he wasn't in the Super Bowl. But the hype around Josh Allen has gotten so high. So we'll see. I really want to see what it takes for the trend to continue. And so game one, if he comes out guns blazing, they win. Obviously it validates the offseason for many people who are holding his cards, and maybe we see the hype churn continue. If he takes a bad loss week one, what does that do? I think that causes some people to get a little bit scared, but of course they'll be like, okay, I can wait till week two, week three. But I think by week three, if he's not performing, we're going to start to see a little bit of a downturn in Josh Allen. We're going to see some people selling a few things. Maybe not the highest end cards, but I think things like contenders, prisms are going to be popping up left and right on eBay if he's not performing at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're already seeing that, and it's something that we've talked about the last couple episodes. There are indications, even in some of the high end stuff, that it's already starting to roll over a bit. You have a lot of people that have seen his cards pretty much go on a steady rise since the game where he lost to Mahomes in January. Just you've seen a steady rise, and there's people that don't really want to carry that risk into the season, a very typical thing that happens in cards. But for him, he's still, MVP favorite. I think there is some justification to the hype, but it's gotten to a level where you're right. If he doesn't come out and they don't look like they're about to just take the Super Bowl, that they're just going to go run for it, people want to bail. And, that's a guy really at the top of the market. So when you think about that in the context of younger guys like the Trey Lance, the Zach Wilsons, the Mac Jones, the Justin Fields, like the time horizon for those guys is short. Like if Trey Lance comes out, and I'm a Bears fan, so I'm wishing this. If Trey Lance comes out against the Bears and doesn't look good, it's not gonna be good. Not gonna be good for them, especially they just re-signed Jimmy Garoppolo. And on the other hand, you're gonna have a lot of people that own his cards or have stake in his cards that they're gonna come out against the Bears, which we know is, no talent team. He might have a touchdown and an interception and they barely cover. And they're saying, I told you so. Trey Lance is the real deal. It's like, bro, you just beat the Bears. Like, that's not impressive to me. So just for those people out there that we all get caught up in FOMO, just be careful who you're listening to when it comes to football cards and the hype train and the overreaction in football from a guy that isn't really a big football collector. I think it's the craziest. Like the whiplash of 1 week's performance versus the other. It can get you thinking like you got it all wrong. If you really believe in somebody, hold on to their cards. If you enjoy holding their cards, you like watching them play, just forget the noise, just hang out and enjoy watching them play.
That's definitely hurt me many times over the years of how fickle football fans / football investors are. It's literally like you hear conversations 1 week, so-and-so is the most amazing player I've ever seen in my life. Next week is that person cannot throw a touchdown to save their life. Cut them immediately. Bring so-and-so in, especially if there's a hot rookie sitting on the bench, right?
It's fun. Like I do think it makes part of, especially when you have skin in the game with the cards, it makes it kind of fun. But yeah, I don't have the stomach for it at a certain level. It's not for me.
Yeah, it's funny. Think about the Bears, Niners. The best thing, I guess, anyone investing in 2021 wax can hope for is a shootout between Trey Lance and Justin Fields would be the best scenario. Probably for that product would be Trey Lance to win, right?
Yeah. Man, if you're talking about the Niners and Bears in a shootout, like I don't know what the over under is, but I'm just gonna guess off the top of my head. It's probably the lowest week one.
20, yeah, probably like 24.
No, it's probably like 40 or something.
Yeah, right.
40 and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, aside from that, I'm just curious to see. I think there's a lot of weirdness surrounding Tom Brady, the Bucks. How do they look? I don't even know who they play, but that's kind of an interesting storyline that's been going on. When will time catch up with this guy and he starts to look mortal? That's something that I'm thinking about. And then
he has me scared for sure.
Yeah,
just the footage of him, he just does not look like the same. Literally does not look like the same Brady. But aside from that, I've never seen him not focused on football like this. It just seems like he's I got things to deal with. I don't think I feel like I've never heard an interview with Brady talk about anything outside of the game.
Yeah, and it will be interesting to see how people react to that if they get off to a slow start. I do think they're in a NFC that is a bit weaker this year comparatively to the NFC or the AFC. So I think, them, Packers, they have pretty decent paths, even if you have some reservations about what the teams did in the offseason. But the other guys that I'm thinking about, I would ask you, for kind of these young hyped guys, who do you think has the most to lose this season? And it could be a guy that didn't play a lot last season, or it could just be like what you're seeing in the card hype. But who do you think has the most to lose based off of where they are right now?
Well, I would have said Zach Wilson, but it seems like he's already lost some steam, right? I mean, just if it wasn't for what happened preseason, I would say probably Zach Wilson. But I think we've already talked about Trey Lance he's gained so much steam that I feel like it's tough to maintain that, especially a team like the Niners, who are not really known for scoring. But then again, if he changes that, in their recent history, because they've been known as a defensive team, if he changes that, then yeah, there's upside there. But I think, considering last year he was still considered sort of a project, for him to come out now and continue that narrative, then that would be tough. That would hurt, because there's been a lot of money put towards Trey Lance.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to take one that I don't think is that controversial, because his prices have definitely come down a lot from his peak towards the end of last season. But I think for me, it's like Mac Jones. I think
that's a good one.
I think the Patriots are not in a good position to really do much of anything. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team. I don't think they're going to be really good by any stretch of the imagination. And he kind of had a moment, if you remember, maybe middle second half of last season, he had a moment there where his cards were crazy, base Donruss, everything. And a lot of that kind of bubble, the air has already been brought out of it, but he's still high enough where I feel like people are going to start moving on. And for those people that really believe in him long term and think the Patriots are going to put a good team around him the following year or whatever, it could be a good opportunity to pick his cards up. But I just don't see him and his cards being relevant this season at all. So I'm going to kind of pick him.
Yeah, I'm trying to do a quick comparison of player index of Mac Jones versus Trey Lance. I'm
probably two guys headed in opposite directions right now. But yeah, I think like Lance is a good one, and really any of the young guys, even the guy that I like a lot, Herbert. There's so many people that think the Chargers are a real contender this year. If they could win their division, they could go to the Super Bowl, and he could just have a little bit of a slump. And the way the hobby's handled him so far is if he's kind of like the next Mahomes. So if he just doesn't perform up to snuff, that's a scary one. Burrow, he could have, the Super Bowl hangover from having lost that game. He had a crazy run up towards the end of the season last year. But it'll be just interesting to see where the money's headed and kind of what narratives form, especially in cards, now that we actually get to see these guys playing.
Yep, we got to take them off our fantasy teams and actually put them on the field.
Yeah, yep.
It's something different.
Yep. Okay, anything else on the Week 1 football realm that you're excited about aside from the Bears beating the Niners?
No, I think I'm kind of excited. It's weird. I feel like I haven't had this excitement around football in a while, just because of COVID and the fake sound and the like. And then last season was a good real season, but just felt strange. But this one feels like, okay, we're almost fully like unlocked. This is like the NFL, where there's going to be nothing that hampers it for now. Watch me.
And there's so much good young talent that I do think that's playing into a lot of it. Of everybody like has their guy that they have opinions on, and we have a ton of good young quarterback talent and no idea where it's going. Which that's actually one of my hot takes is I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have a good season, and I think their division's weak. Like that could be a weird situation where who knows? Maybe all of a sudden they go and win 9 games in the AFC South and they're in the playoffs. I don't know.
Trevor Lawrence in the Super Bowl.
No.
And Zion Williamson in the NBA Finals is what you're saying.
No. And if I had to bet that, I would pick Zion over the Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars. But we can get into that discussion at a later date when we talk more basketball, because I know you and I have pretty different opinions on Zion.
Mm-hmm.
So,
cool.
what's your, right. You got to give a hot take. I just gave you that the Jaguars could win the AFC South. What do you got?
I'm just really intrigued. I want to see Russell Wilson go to the Super Bowl with the Broncos, the team that he decimated in the Super Bowl.
Boring, boring, boring.
Come on, come on. What's wrong with that? People are doubting Russell Wilson. He came off these past 2 years where it's rough. He's got this contract locked in. I think it's a fun take to see him actually do something for the Broncos, and the fact that he crushed, or sorry, the team crushed Peyton Manning so badly.
Yeah,
So now he's back.
I'm out on Russ. Russ, and
let's ride.
Talk about the most boring Monday night football game they could have given us week one. The Broncos at the Geno Smith Seahawks.
Oof.
Tough. It's tough.
Yeah, you would have liked it more if it was Drew Lock.
Also bad. Equally as bad. Equally as irrelevant of a game. But at least we get some other good ones. We get the Sunday night game, Bucks at Cowboys. I just remembered that was their opponent, and then the Thursday night with the Bills Rams. So,
what's the deal with Ezekiel Elliott? It seems like is he kind of fading in the background now?
Oh yeah, that dude. I mean, come on, we're talking about football running backs. He's old.
I know. He's old. He was a stud for so long, and it's sad to see it kind of hitting his time because basically him and Dak were in the same draft, and you're literally seeing the QB lasting longer than the running back, as you'd expect, and typically what people say in cards, but you see it. Running back, quarterback drafted the same draft class. They came together, and now you're seeing one's going, kind of sailing off a little bit.
Yeah. No, I think that team too, the way they ended last season was just so bad that expectations are not super high. So maybe they'll prove us wrong. I know Cowboys fans are eternal optimists. They think they're like the Yankees, but it's been a while, guys. It's been a while.
But Dak, what other QB can put up like 600 yards? Like Dak he has those moments where you're like, holy crap, how does he put up so many yards?
Then he can't get a playoff. In a critical situation. That was rough. So anyway, that's enough. Ending. That's enough football talk. Pretty quick on the news and industry topics this week. Next week we will certainly be talking about some of the football overreactions. We're going to have the Golden recap because that'll be ending next Friday or Saturday. So we'll be able to talk about some of the big sales there, including that Justin Herbert that we talked about. That's already over $1 million, the NT Shield 101 of auto. But for our long discussion today, we want to talk a little bit about redemptions. And this is kind of spawned from an interview that Michael Rubin did with Colin Cowherd this week. It aired this week. And it was more of a general interview. It wasn't just about the collectibles industry. It was just a small portion. But he was interviewing him, just talking about Fanatics, talking about the direction Fanatics is headed in, how he thinks about business. And because of that, naturally talked about a little bit of the collectibles space and how Fanatics is kind of trying to make a play for it clearly by buying Topps, getting all these league licenses, and from what we hear, rumored to be buying Panini as well. But what did you take away, Joel, just from listening to kind of their conversation as it relates to cards or maybe just Fanatics vision in general? What did you take away from it?
Yeah, my big takeaway is they're changing the roadmap from what card companies typically did. Or at least that's what they intend to do. And what that means is they want to give a little bit more partnership to players. And I think that could have a good impact on some areas. Obviously, I think what always scares me is the bottom line and how much these products are going to cost, how much is being made. Are they going to pump out too much product to keep costs down? Probably yes to some of those things I just said are going to happen. I don't know which ones they are, but I'm just fearful that it's going to knock me out of wanting to do certain things because it's going to kind of upset the balance.
Yeah. I see what you mean there. I do think there's almost been a little bit too much conversation that's theoretical surrounding the content about Fanatics acquisition and just their movement into the space because we don't really know. We know kind of like theoretically what people have said, whether it's Rubin or Josh Luber, their chief vision officer, but we don't really know like the nuts and bolts of how much are they going to try to change what Topps is doing right now. Because for all we know, like Fanatics is they own Topps right now. And like today, they just announced the design for next year's Series 1 baseball. I think there's a lot of people that want to take small pieces of like what they're seeing a Topps do and say, oh, well, this is because Fanatics changed it. We don't know. We actually have no clue, like based off of the lead time and the planning that goes into a particular product, that how long in advance Topps has planned this out and how much Fanatics has said, look, you guys continue to operate the way that you've planned it out, and we're going to slowly bring ourselves into the equation to do more direct to consumer, to have more input on pricing. So, yeah, it's difficult to really speak. You can just like take cues from what these guys say in interviews, and you know, me rambling. Like, I think the thing that I got out of Michael Rubin wasn't necessarily him talking about any specific topic, but one thing that I felt like he pounded the table on when Colin Cowherd brought up was the fact that we are a brand that wants to serve the fan whenever they need something digitally and they want to order something digitally, and it's a direct to consumer product. And he really like pounded the table. We believe in a direct to consumer model. And when I listened to that, I thought of immediately distributors being cut out, GTS gone. People worried about not getting product. Like, yeah, you should be worried. Like, these guys, like, they go look at what they do in apparel. That's what they're going to do in the collectible space. And whether you like it or not, that's where the train is headed. So you better adapt or find something else to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's very true. It's funny. When I was at the National this year, I think I've talked previously, I spent a good amount of time at the Zero Cool booth. Josh Luber was hanging out there every so often. He would check in. And, you know, I just went up to him being like, dude, the Zero Cool booth is awesome. It has a vibe that's not at the National you haven't seen, right? Like, and he was like, thank you, you know, dap me up. and we went on our way, you know. And it's true. So I heard an interview from Josh Luber, and he was looking at the same thing. So what they put out for Zero Cool, he went around the show and looking what vendors out there put similar money back into the hobby, into their brand, to display themselves well. And so he talked specifically about Kentucky Roadshow, the Roadshow brand.
Yep.
And there was one other brand as well that he mentioned. And what he liked about them is they showed that they're leveling up.
Yep.
And that's something that he's going to be looking for in partnerships in the future. Is so if they are looking to partner with local shops or things, they want to make sure it's a professional brand. It's not like, I guess I worry, is he going to want to aim for the mom and pop? I don't know. It sounds like he wants it to be a more cleaner look than a mom and pop type of thing, right? Well, so we'll see.
Yeah, and like we shouldn't be like too general in saying like, oh, they're trying to target X or Y, because yeah, it's like we're painting with a broad brush. I think there's a lot of people that are going to still be participating. It's just the direction and the emphasis might be different from before. And, you know, personally, like I'm not here to say like I think Fanatics is going to make my experience as a consumer way better. But I will say I'm excited that they're potentially eliminating layers in between me and the product that I'm trying to get, because ultimately I think that's going to give me a better shot at the product I want at a closer to market price. And a lot of these businesses that relied on their competitive advantage was simply, I have one supplier that I buy something from and I mark it up a crazy amount, and that's where I make my money. If that's your business plan, then you actually don't have control of your business, number one, because you're reliant on this one external thing to make your business run. But number two, like you're not adapting. And as easy as the money has seemed in the last few years in sports cards, things are going to change. And that's not even talking about like larger economic issues. I'm just saying where the direction's headed, where you have this new money coming in and saying, we're a profit-oriented business that's going to shake things up, and we've done it in sports team apparel. So like we're going to take on collectibles, and if you want to play with us, you can play. If you don't, then sorry.
Yeah, I guess I worry once you take out, you know, this is the pie in the sky, the true collector. Say if you frighten certain people away from the industry, saying like it's going to be all about money, they're going to be pumping out all these products. They're not worried about the collector per se. They're just worried about catching a wave and just putting out product to meet demand, right?
Yep.
If that's the case, then where do all these cards go? I mean, landfills? Because, or are they going to go back to the age of everything just being in closets again, and then until 50 years later they come out after so much gets thrown out to make it scarce?
Oh, well.
Because that's what I'm scared of. So I'm scared of where we're headed if we just get to a point of overproduction. I think what saved cards all these years was I don't want to say, well, some level of manufactured scarcity, along with true scarcity, because of the fact that it met demand in the past. And because it was smaller and now it's expanded, there became true scarcity from the manufactured scarcity before. And now we're going to be pumping it up to a point where there's just going to, I'm scared there's not going to be enough buyers to support it, at least with newer products.
Yeah. Well, I would make the argument that that's already happened. So it's really not something you can blame Fanatics for. The kind of wave of overproduction and, too many parallels, kind of like a junk parallel era, junk slab era. I think that's kind of already happened. It's more of a matter of like, is Fanatics good at threading the needle between meeting demand and keeping collectors happy and like creating value in products? And again, like everybody loves to criticize that, but like that's a really hard thing to get down because it's specific to sport. It's specific to SKUs, hobby versus retail. How much do we produce of X versus the other one? And you just don't know. Like there's fluctuations in the hobby, and a lot of what we've seen with overproduction just in this last year or two was in a response to, like we were talking about last week, everybody complaining about not being able to find any product 2 years before. So it's like they are reacting to the sentiments of the collector and the people that want the cards, but it's like the indicators are lagging. So they're like always a little bit behind. And so then like by the time we get into a situation like now where there's potentially a slowdown, they've like made it worse by then also having too much product that's just like sitting untouched or not getting opened. So yeah, I don't really blame them for if they're trying to figure that out. Basically, if they acknowledge that that's a problem, that's a win. And I don't think they're going to have people at the helm that don't understand that. It's a matter of can they execute, and we don't know. So we'll see instead of guessing about it. But I did want to move into another thing that Michael Rubin did bring up in the interview, and that was in regards to redemptions. When he was interviewed by Colin Cowherd, and Colin Cowherd kind of asked him about collectibles, he said, what was something you figured out or learned about in this industry that like it like went against your instincts, the way this works? And Michael Rubin, surprisingly to me, said redemptions. He's like, the way these redemptions work, everybody that we've heard from, they're so upset about them. So he was like, I don't get why that's a thing. And like, it's something that we want to solve. So Joel, I know you have a lot of thoughts on this. Kind of what did you think about like that being his answer, and where do you want to go from there?
Yeah, I think it's a major issue in the hobby right now, and it's become a real bottleneck. Originally, when I remember the first time I ever pulled a redemption, it was from Upper Deck back in the late 90s. And when you pulled like a Sign of the Times redemption or something to that degree from a pack of cards, you knew you had something special. And I thought something that made it extremely special in some of those cases, the redemption card, if you even go back to the Shaq redemption from like 1992, the trade card, it actually looked like a card. So you kind of had a idea what you had. In today's market, what you get is a blank white card with a bunch of script on it saying the card you have. So you have to, when these breakers are shaking when they look at their redemption card, they're literally just like scrolling text on a white piece of cardboard to tell them like, oh no, I got a redemption code for, oh, I can't believe it, it's Kylian Mbappe or whatever it is.
I like when they top load them.
Yeah. Well, hey, you got to protect that scratch code, right? But okay, I'll tell you this. So I had a very expensive redemption card sitting for 2 years in my Panini queue, and in my head, like I I almost forgot that that card existed for me because of the fact that I didn't even have it in hand, right? But then every so often, I'd be like, oh yeah, that card is sitting out there, and it's been 2 years. There's people out there that have had outstanding redemptions if they don't get it replaced for 10 years, 5 years, whatever it might be. There's always that case. There could be someone that had one. If you think about from 09, 10, if someone had that redemption sitting in their queue, it could now be 12 years old, right? 12, 13 years old. It's insane. I like some of the approaches that are taken in the hobby today. So one that in particular that is great for me when I go to the national I am able to set up an appointment this year at the Panini booth. I did that, and I got a replacement for my redemption this year, which is great. They did me right. I felt great.
So Joel, let me interrupt you on that. So you pull a redemption from Panini or multiple redemptions. You log them on Panini's website to say, hey, I got this, send me the card. You wait a while. Mm-hmm. You don't get anything. You can show up at the National and say, look, Panini, I've been waiting this long with these redemptions. Help me out. Like, is that some sort of formal thing that they advertise, or is it just something that you know about because you've been in the hobby a long time?
They do put it out in their newsletter now. This past year was the first time that they actually allowed you to set up appointments online.
Okay.
So I managed to see that right away, and I set up an appointment for myself to jump in the line at the right time. In the past, at previous nationals, it would be there'd be a blog post that would go out from Panini about it, and then it would be word of mouth, and you would just have to go to the booth and line up. And those lines could take your whole day at the national for some people, or maybe half a day, right, depending where you were, what time you got in the line. But it basically what they're offering you is they'll look at the redemptions that you have in your queue. If you meet the certain parameters for that, like say if it's over 6 months old and maybe a certain value range, they'll give you a black box or sealed box with a unknown redemption card in most cases, depending unless it's a really high value, then they'll make sure they try to guarantee something. But in past years, I would just do it just to clear up my queue. And I'll tell you, I was burned in past years. Like I gave up a Steph Curry, Kevin Durant dual autograph in the past, and I ended up getting like a Shea Gilgeous-Alexander auto and like a D'Angelo Russell. It was brutal. So this past year, this one in particular, I made my appointment, and I'll tell you this: there were many people that came to the National that did not have an appointment, but they're like, I'm coming to the National. I'm going to do what I did previous Nationals. I'm going to wait in this long line. And Panini tried to take appointments in between, but they still had the line, and they still tried to work through as much of the line as they could at the show. So it didn't necessarily curb the issue because there wasn't enough appointments. And what does that mean? That means they have too many redemptions and too many queues that are sitting out there. This is a major issue. So that's the Panini side. On the Topps side, I've had my redemptions with Topps in the past. I've had long wait times on a few, up to, I would say, 2-3 years on a few redemptions in the past. And for me, personally, and I think for the combination of I don't open a lot of baseball anymore, I don't even want to redeem anything with Topps. I'm hearing that they're pretty quick with redemptions, but I don't even want to mess with it because of the fact that I feel like my customer service interaction with Topps in those cases was not great. And so to me, it takes me out as a buyer. When I see a Topps redemption, I'm like, well, I'll wait till it's live and maybe I'll make an offer then. With Panini, I feel at least I have a chance because of that national promotion where you're able to go wait in line. And so I feel like, okay, well, if anything, at least I have that if things get really bad, which is not a great way to think.
No. And there's not that many people that can make it there. Like, you're not the average collector that can, decide to show up to Atlantic City to try to get their redemption switched out. Yeah, I mean, what do you think, like, just like the role of redemptions in general? What do you think? Do you think they have a role? Because, like, in my opinion, I think they're important, and I credit to the card manufacturers for it. It seems really logistically difficult to get autographs from all these guys in a certain set, and I get it. Like they might not know until they're going to pack these cards out that like they're missing some of the checklists due to redemptions and they got to print them. So like it's an IOU and I just don't see how they don't like we don't have that moving forward because you're just like you're dealing with a bunch of humans and they might not sign their cards on time.
Yeah, so I think there's two sides of this, right? Either you cut out the redemptions from the product completely, but that if you're talking about some big signers, what would you rather have? Would you rather have the redemption, or would you rather have nothing, or would you rather have points the way that Panini does it today? And to define points, so one of the approaches that Panini has taken recently is if a hit is missing from a product, they'll replace it with what they consider an assigned value in points, and they'll be replaced with that hit in the product. So then you can go to their site, register those points, use those points in a set store of previous redemption cards or whatever it might be, things that weren't claimed that end up in this long list. And of course, the great stuff ends up being, at one point, was very reasonable, but now anything that's really good is very high on the point scale. They do some packs, things like that on there. But that was a solution that seemed to work for a little while. Now it's kind of getting off kilter. But so that's one option. So it's either replace with points, or it's eliminate those redemptions completely, right? And just not have certain signers. But that's going to kill the product because people are looking for certain names in a product to make it successful. So from Panini's eyes, they don't want to eliminate that. From a collector's eyes, we don't want them to eliminate those big names. Some people may say like, hey, if the signer is a C tier, maybe cut them out. What if that C tier was a guy like Giannis, like one in 2013, because he was not even considered. He was like a project at the time, or like say like in 2014 was Steph Curry considered probably a C list, maybe, right? Because he was continuously injured. He was probably starting to hit. Maybe 2012 Curry might have been in that C tier, B tier kind of player, even though he's great on the court. He didn't really do too much. What if he ended up being cut from products? That'd be a lot of Steph Curry autos that we don't have today on the market. I think the direction that Fanatics is proposing of partnership with players is at least gives players some skin in the game and some additional incentive to sign. There was actually an interesting story from earlier this year where Leaf had a deal with CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb didn't sign his cards that he had to deal with the Leaf for, and Leaf ended up opening up a lawsuit with CeeDee Lamb. And guess what? Immediately, those cards got signed and returned to Leaf.
Yeah.
That's not the direction that we want to go often in this industry, because once players start feeling threatened, guess what they're just going to do? Be like, I don't need to hassle my life. I'm out.
Yeah.
Because honestly, this is probably more a favor to us as collectors than it is to the players what they make. But if you talk about giving players an incentivized partnership, maybe that's something different to a player and they understand it's their brand. Maybe they work better on the quality of their signature. So you see situations like Michael Jordan, LeBron James partnering with Upper Deck. They put out a nice high quality autograph, just like Tiger Woods, Wayne Gretzky. These guys have some of the best autographs in the game, looks and obviously value as well. And maybe we see more of that. They take more pride in what they put out because they feel like they're being paid fairly for what that is.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think there's no way that we get rid of redemptions. I think it's an interesting point you bring up, though, just to say, like, what if there are certain products that guarantee that there's no redemptions? They're all live. I don't know how they would do that contractually. That would be difficult, but that's
flawless.
Yeah,
flawless in the past, pretty much has guaranteed that.
That seems interesting. Like, that's cool because like I can buy a box 5 years after it got released, and I'm not going to get stuck with some redemption that's not going to be redeemed, or I want to sit on some wax for a couple of years, whatever. Like, I like that approach. I do think though, the redemption process though is important, just because you have to give them that bailout, because like you were saying, just removing people from the checklist last minute is even more of a disservice to collectors, because I might have bought something off the sell sheet because I thought X players were going to be signing in there. And if all of a sudden you're like, sorry guys, they couldn't get them in here, we're just going to remove them. That's a huge bummer.
I'll tell you what the biggest kick in the pants to collectors is, and it is expiration dates on redemption
Oh,
cards.
I agree with that. Yeah.
To me, I can understand a replacement date, like to say just for we have to maintain inventory at this point, we can offer you a replacement of the value, and maybe they time it, say like we won't offer you the current value, but maybe say the value as of the date of expiration, right, or
Yep.
the date of replacement. Maybe at that point the value of the card was this. That's all we can offer you. Something in between. But there should never be a redemption that has nothing unless the company is completely out of business.
Yeah.
If the company is in business, they should work with a person that's opened a product to give them something.
Yeah. I think they should. I think like what you're saying, there should be no expiration. There should simply be a date that says, look, if we don't have this fulfilled by X date, we're completely like forgetting about this card. We're going to replace it with something, and whatever that process is for whether it's giving you points or something of similar quality or giving you a choice is up to the manufacturers. But yeah, I think that's generally like that's what would make sense to me to keep customers happy, and also like for them to not have all of these like outstanding liabilities of like the fact that there's Panini redemptions that are unfilled from 5, 6, 7 years ago. It's ridiculous. Like they like should be able to like move on from that, but they've created a system where they don't have like a natural way for people to like get closure, and I just think that's the wrong way. But yeah, I personally like I have a lot less experience with redemptions. I've definitely done stuff with Panini and Topps. Panini is the one that I've had the most trouble with as far as how long I've been waiting for redemptions, but none of them are like super big cards, so I don't really care that much. And I do think Topps just has been a little bit more reliable for me. So I'm less, if I'm buying an actual redemption, I'm less worried if it's a Topps redemption. I'm more worried if it's a Panini redemption. So I kind of avoid it.
It's kind of funny you're more worried if it's a Panini redemption, because I feel like some of the things I've said, like Panini will actually offer it. Like say if you do have an expired redemption, if you put it in the system, I think they'll try to give you something. Topps, I feel like might be sorry, you're out of luck. Like completely. Yeah. Like I don't think Topps will give you a thing. So in my mind, I'd rather take the shot on Panini and them trying to look for the card for me. But in my experience with Topps is they won't. Once it's expired, it's expired.
Yeah. That brings up a good question. If you have a redemption that you buy, say you're buying it as a single or something at a show or in a lot, if it's the actual redemption and you have no information about those cards being redeemed yet, and that's your only information, how do you value that versus the real card that's been redeemed?
To me, I just pretty much look at comps. So I'll offer if I want the redemption. And this kind of burned me before. Like with Luka, I had an Optic Contenders Blue of Luka. Great card. I had his redemption. I bought off a guy for the going rate on eBay. And I just kept holding it as a redemption. And then as Luka got hot, I was like, well, shoot, I can sell this for $1,000 a redemption, and I don't have to worry about if Panini's going to send me a card that might not be a perfect or this and that. Take that risk out. Guess what? That card's worth now. That card's probably a 5-figure card, right? And it's, but to me, it's because it was a redemption. I ended up devaluing it myself because I didn't want to deal with the associated risk.
But I think that's correct. Like that's kind of what I'm getting at is, do people price in the fact that it's a redemption correctly? Yes. Do you think they really like? Because I think a lot of times people just assume, well, yeah, you're going to get the card eventually, when really like that's not exactly the case. Yeah. And I mean, I think like I've had this thought of even like as a pretty simple like arbitrage opportunity is just buying redemptions, redeeming them, and putting your faith in the companies that when you're going to get the card, you're going to get the actual card. And at that point, in people's heads, it should be worth more than the cardboard that says you got a redemption, right? Like So it's kind of an interesting thing to think like, what is the bump in value? Is it 10%? Is it 20%? Yeah, just kind of like a good mental exercise. And I think the other thing, like you're saying, the variables of like, you don't know what the auto is going to look like. You don't know the condition the card's going to be in. So like you're playing with a little bit more mystery. That said, there is some mystery that's fun with like serial numbered cards. Say you buy a redemption of, I don't know, a guy that has a pretty low number. He's a quarterback in the NFL. He's number 6. You buy a redemption that's numbered to 20
10. Yeah.
or 10. Oh, okay. You have a pretty good shot at a jersey number card,
Mm-hmm.
and you're just getting lucky, and that's could be like a pretty nice bonus to have. So, yeah, just I'm not sure like people factor all that in when they're buying the redemptions, but something that I've thought about.
Yeah, I think they do to some extent. I think if we all had faith that if I put the redemption in, I'm going to get that card, at least one of the series of that card, I think it would probably be, instead of like a 20-30%, it'd be like maybe like a 10% reduction from live.
Yeah,
Something where it'd be like, if I knew I'm going to get it in 3 months and the company's going to guarantee it, I'd have no qualms about getting the card and
right.
buying it as a redemption. Because to me, if it's a card I want, I'll wait. It's fine.
Yeah,
No
and
problem.
the other benefit too that I didn't mention is fewer hands touching it. If you're interested in grading the card, you want to make sure the card's just in good condition. Getting it direct from the manufacturer should be in better condition than having gone through another collector's hand. So that's kind of like another piece that can be nice, is you might get a nicer condition card as opposed to like somebody that pulled it out of a pack or fondled it and looked at it, decided they didn't want to grade it, put it in one case, took it out of another. Like there's just less handling. So that could be another benefit of just getting it directly from them.
Yeah, sorry, kind of changing a little bit on this redemption topic. So I talked about what Panini did at the National, and I thought one thing that was interesting is this year I asked Topps, how come Topps doesn't do something similar, right, at the National, to clear out their queue and let people have the opportunity? And I guess they looked over at Panini and they saw like, okay, some of the side issues to this are, first of all, you have this big clog at your area. You have unhappy people that are kind of just standing there. And in your area, like what kind of attention does that bring? I think their goal is just to solve it behind the scenes as much as possible. But and then basically Topps is having promotions all day or trying to, and they don't want this cloud of unhappy people to stand there, yelling about their problems. Because you have some people, basically you're inviting a very unhappy, potentially group of people to your booth.
At a positive event.
At a very positive event, right? But I guess you would hope that those are the people they want to bring. They want to solve issues there. So I do applaud Panini for taking that head on. But yeah, there definitely is a downside to that.
What if Topps just has fewer issues?
That could be it. So I know that that's one thing they said, is that they do just try to make sure they handle their redemptions as much as possible. But I mean, so does Panini. But I think Panini just has way more contracts.
No, I think that's probably it. Is like, it's probably just a complexity thing from Panini's standpoint, that they have like more to focus on, and so there's just like more stuff that goes unfulfilled. So they have more problems with redemptions.
And I think about this whole, like, say, like, I mentioned the story about like Steph Curry early on in his career. Do we need him in the product, or even Giannis? Like, say if Giannis wasn't live and he was only live, which is great. I actually do have some box of 2013-14 select basketball. And what I like about that's one of the few products that Giannis has live autographs. Say if there were other products where he is a redemption that's now expired, what if they just didn't put a Giannis auto in there? Today, like, would that just make some of his other autographs just worth more instead of those? Yeah. Like say if it's not even 2013-14, say it's like a 2016 Giannis auto, it just make that better because the fact there's less. What's out there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but no, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. Like, I don't think they're going away. I think a lot of people have these like pipe dreams about redemptions being a thing of the past, but I don't think they're going away. Just like I don't think sticker autos are going away, and it's just
sticker autos might be the answer to some of the redemption issues.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just kind of like a necessary evil. And I'm not against sticker autos. I generally don't like them. Like, I just don't think they look nice. I do think there's some that look a lot better than others. Like, I just found out recently that I know they used to be in status, Panini status. You know those draft night autos?
Mm-hmm.
Those are stickers. I didn't know that. I thought they were on
they
card.
use the larger stickers, right?
And it's like almost like impossible to tell it's a sticker. So like,
I'll tell you this.
That's a card to me that like I think those look cool, and like I would love to have a cool rookie like a Luka of that, and like to me like the sticker wouldn't bother me. Whereas like I think like stickers on Prism generally just look like crap. Like they don't look good at all. It's very obvious that it's just a sticker thrown on there, and I get why those cards are just like not super desirable.
Right.
What are you opening?
Well, it's funny because you talk about stickers. I had one back in 1999.
Shaq Diesel.
So when this card came out, I'm sorry, it's like kind of.
Yeah, that's all right.
When this card came out, I had no idea that this was a sticker.
Yeah, well, that's back in the day when they like were good at that.
But that's what I mean, right? Like, what happened to this art? What happened to this art to do something like this?
That's a good discussion. That's a good discussion for a future podcast. But like, I do think there's a lot of stuff that was produced in the late '90s, early 2000s. That's like the best technology in sports cards, and like we've just gone down from there, which really makes no sense. But anywho, we're getting off topic. So, in terms of redemptions, do you have anything else to say? I don't really have any strong opinions. I think they're here to stay. I think the manufacturers can do a better way to handle them, and we as collectors have to deal with it and just know that it's a reality.
I think FanX's idea of player partnerships is a good step. I mean, I really hope it doesn't add too much additional cost to the end user. I mean, we'll see. I'm sure there's going to be some trickle down of that. But if it means that there's going to be some really strong signers coming to play and they'll actually have autographs and it pays off, then I think that that's a great idea. I think that's something different we haven't seen. And I'm looking forward to what that produces.
Yep. All right, Joel. That is almost time for us. We are heading into football week Thursday, so just a few days from now. We're going to be doing a recap of the Golden next week as well. Anything else you're looking forward to this week, or things that you think we should be talking about next week?
I'm kind of looking forward to a card show. I feel like I had a couple week reprieve, and I'm ready to go see what's out there.
All right. I don't know if I'll see you there. You know how I am.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe I'll show up. Maybe I'll make an appearance. But other than that, we appreciate you listening. If you're listening to us on YouTube or watching us, please give us a like and subscribe. We are on Spotify, Amazon Music, and we are still waiting our approval on Apple iTunes. So if that's your preferred mode, should be there soon. But we appreciate everybody listening. Give us a comment and let us know what you think about any of our horrible takes this week, and maybe you can talk some crap with us about football.
Hey, wait. Speaking of football, really quick. You didn't tell anyone about your pickup this week.
Oh, yeah. After I made fun of Joel on his Daniel Jones pick, I picked up a Daniel Jones card in the PWCC weekly auction this week. I picked up a 2019 Dunder's Optic Hollow PSA 10 for like just over $80. And
how do you feel about it?
You know, it was really just looking for some low value, potentially high upside guys to sell quickly. And I looked at the last few sales of that card on eBay, and they were well over $100. And I was like, you know, if I can buy this at 70 to 80% of what they're going for, if he wins one game, give me a little cash in my pocket. So I picked it up.
And the most you can lose is, I would say, well, $80, but I think in general maybe like $30.
Yeah, 30. Yeah, exactly. It's low stakes. It's real low stakes. So It's fun.
Cool.
But all right, man. I'll talk to you later.
I'll see you.
All right. Thanks.